take a lot of effort on the part of the fire department to monitor these alarms, and I really appreciate Councilman DeSantis' comment that these folks shouldn't be punished. At the same time, I don't really think it's punishment. I think it's just registration for, as a fee for what is usually a sign of having assets that are worth protecting. And I don't see where we would cut ourselves off from that revenue source. So if council would like to discuss the concept of amending that to not make that change, I would feel satisfied because I think all of the other changes are fine. But I think the elimination of that revenue source at the end of February, beginning of March is not a good idea for us to start the year off.
Any other comments from members of council?
Yeah, I'll go back. There was nowhere I could find, and I did check with the city administration, where this money was budgeted. I don't even believe the one line item that I checked with the business administrator's office even could identify the fees with that particular amendment. I also think for maybe the last 22 years that there has been an amendment in place. I would challenge how much revenue we have collected. So I have not found this anywhere in the budget, nor was it isolated in some of the fees that we were talked about in front of the finance committee meeting. So I didn't see it anywhere in the budget.
Thank you. Stolen?
I would only say that goes against what we had heard from the administration at the last meeting. So perhaps we need clarification on that. I don't think we should move forward unless we know for sure whether this is going to create a shortfall for us.
Any other comments from council?
Is there a possibility we could get an answer on that from a member of the administration?
Mr. Civic?
Yes, Mr. DiGiacinto and I did speak, and I did explain to him that the fees are part of an overall account for various fees, so you won't see it itemized in the budget. And he did ask if it would produce a shortfall in the budget. And I said, to be honest, it would be hard to answer because that account does make up so many various fees. We budget from year to year based on the last 5 years, so it's hard to say it can, but can I guarantee that it will produce a shortfall in the budget? No, I can't. I think
Go ahead.
And I think also, look, the fact is I'm not sure this ordinance in the past has really been enforced. Okay, so the intent was, let's bring a new ordinance forward. Let's put some new penalties up. Let's enforce it, right? If what I heard in all the preface, the talk was that there is a lot of violators. Let's talk about the violators of this ordinance. If we enforce the ordinance and collect the fees, to me, that's going to be a windfall. It's going to be a windfall. We haven't collected fees on violators up to this date. As far as the annual fee was concerned, I'm not sure when the last time we collected an annual fee from someone. It might be new ground that we'll cross over if we enforce this or pass this ordinance tonight. I still think you can get a one-time upfront registration fee. I was merely against the follow-up fees year after year for those people who paid once.
Okay, thank you.
If I make another comment or question,
I'll give you latitude there.
I guess I just feel strongly that we're looking to increase revenue sources, and we voted on a budget that did that so that we could move forward and not go into the red again. And I don't want to take chances, so I think this is a terrific ordinance, but I'm going to vote no because I don't want to do anything to challenge our sources of revenue that we agreed we're going to balance our budget when we passed it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Polinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Nay.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donchis.
Aye. 9D, Bill number 4, amending general fund budget, compliance officer salary, and health bureau adjustments. Bill 4.
Bill 4, an ordinance of the City of Bethlehem, Counties of Lehigh and Northampton, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the general fund budget for 2011. Bill number 4 is sponsored by David D. Jacinto and J. William Reynolds.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. D. Jacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
9E, Bill number 5, amending a non-utility capital budget, skate park grant, year-end adjustments. Memorandums were received, the city controller and the director of budget and finance regarding this bill.
An ordinance of the City of Bethlehem, Counties of Lehigh and Northampton, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the 2011 capital budget for non-utilities, sponsored by David D. Jacinto and J. William Reynolds.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. D. Jacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
9F, Bill number 6, amending the community development budget, year-end adjustment.
An ordinance of the City of Bethlehem, Counties of Lehigh and Northampton, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the community development budget for 2011, and sponsored by David D. Jacinto and J. William Reynolds.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. D. Jacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
9G, Bill number 7, amending Article 121, bond issue, general obligation notes, and lines of credit.
An ordinance amending Article 121 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, as amended entitled Finance by adding new section 121.12 bond issues, general obligation notes, and lines of credit, sponsored by David D. Jacinto and Eric Evans.
Comments? Just a comment from our solicitor. I know at the last meeting we discussed the options of council if this amendment, this ordinance were to be violated. Mr. Spadoni, will you just take us through your recommendation against this? We'll be voting on this in the final reading.
Well, just to reiterate my memo and advice, if that's a good phrase, the normal penal clauses or penalties such as a fine or a short term of imprisonment, which to my knowledge, has never been utilized in a municipal setting, really doesn't get the intent of council's action in this regard. I think it can be on a case-by-case basis, and I indicated to you at the last meeting that I conferred with District Attorney Morganelli, who, if you'll recall, in the late or early 90s, sued the then Governor Casey to execute death warrants. It's on a case-by-case basis, should be sensitized to the, if you will, the intensity or the egregiousness of the violation, and certainly if it is, quote, bad enough, if that's a good phrase, council could take action to remove someone from office or to have other penalties imposed by a court. Frankly, in looking at other ordinances and reviewing this with a number of other people, that was my best advice and remains my best advice as drafted.
Thank you. Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. D. Jacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
9H, Bill number 8, establishing Article 112 campaign finance reports.
An ordinance Adding new Article 112, campaign finance reports to the codified ordinances of the City of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania by requiring that copies of campaign finance reports for candidates running for the offices of City Council, Mayor, City Treasurer, and City Controller be filed with the City Clerk's office before or on the due date. Such candidates must file with the County of Northampton as mandated by state law, and that such reports be posted on the city website no later than 5 working days after the due date, sponsored by J. William Reynolds and Gordon Mauer.
Let me make a comment, and I'll ask my colleagues if they have any additional comments. We have 3 amendments before us on this, and they've all been co-sponsored, so we won't have to move and get seconds on this. As the one that proposed this, I'm a strong advocate and believer of transparency, public disclosure. The public should have the right to know who we get our money from, where we're spending our money as regards our campaign contributions. I think it's important that we do pass this tonight simply because our Tuesday is the deadline to file our petition. So this would go into effect for people running for City Council in this cycle election, not knowing when Northampton County would be posting it. But I will support the one amendment that Mr. Fenny made reference to about deleting the name. I think we would change the word on 1 or 2 other things, that it would have to be notarized. It would have to be notarized. It would be the same form being submitted to Northampton County. Any other comments? Mrs. Dolan?
Just a question. I thought about Benning's concerns about the potential duplication, and he got me on the driving part. So could we consider a semantics change where instead of using the sort of the older-fashioned words like filed with, we change it to be made accessible to, and where we have posted on, change that to be made accessible through city website? So if you say be made accessible through the city website, that means gives Cindy flexibility to do a link. And the language is just it's older language, so I think that's why it says things like post and file.
Let me comment and I'll turn to the solicitor. My suggestion would be that we take each amendment and vote on each amendment individually, up or down. And then if those amendments were to pass, then before we would vote on the bill as amended, if there would be any other changes, then you could move and if you would like, and if there's a second, then we could put all your changes in one amendment. But since we have 3 amendments that have 2 co-sponsors, we don't have to go through the amendment and proposals.
That's fine, and the semantics would be consistent on all of the amendments and on the bill. So.
Mrs. Spadoni?
I think that's the way to handle it. I think council's done that in the past. Let's do the 3 amendments first, and then if you have a motion for a further amendment, that would be great.
Please read Amendment 1.
Amendment 1 adds to the title of the bill the words "and statement of financial interest." New section 112.02 would be added to read as follows: filing and posting of statements of financial interest. A copy of the statement of financial interest required to be filed by candidates for the offices of City Council, Mayor, City Treasurer, and City Controller shall be forwarded with signatures redacted by the Bethlehem City Clerk to the Information Services Bureau of Bethlehem, which shall post such statements on the city website not later than 5 days after they are received in the Bethlehem City Clerk's office. The following sections are renumbered, sponsored by David DiGiacinto and Jean Belinsky.
Comments on Amendment 1? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Doncheck.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
Thank you. Please read Amendment 2.
Amendment 2 also adds to the title, and the words added are statement of financial interest and contributions. New section 112.03 is added to read as follows: filing and posting of contributions received after pre-election filing date. A copy of the notification required to be filed with the counties by candidates for the offices of City Council, Mayor, City Treasurer, and City Controller who received $500 or more in contributions within a week before the election shall be filed by candidates for offices of City Council, Mayor, City Treasurer, and City Controller within 24 hours with the Bethlehem City Clerk's office, and shall be forwarded by the Bethlehem City Clerk to the Information Services Bureau of Bethlehem, which shall post such notification on the Bethlehem City website not later than 5 days after they are received in the Bethlehem City Clerk's office, sponsored by David DiGiacinto and Jean Belinsky.
Comments? This is standard with county policy. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
Please read Amendment 3.
Also, the title is changed as stated with Amendment 2. The section 112.01, filing and posting of campaign finance reports, adds the words "with signatures redacted." The amendment is sponsored by David DiGiacinto and Jean Belinsky.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye. Ms. Dolan, thank you. Ms. Dolan, I'll turn to you for amendment number 4, but your amendment, we'll put it all in one if you would like,
I can.
but we'll need your motion, then a second.
Okay, I'm only suggesting that we just change language consistently throughout all 3 of the amendments as well as the ordinance, so that references to be filed with be changed to forwarded to, and references to posted on the city website be changed to be made accessible on the city website. That would cover the changes that could happen, and it could be handled flexibly by our city clerk, and still achieve the same thing without the need to drive things back and forth to City Hall.
Mr. Spadoni, as our solicitor, but also the solicitor to Northampton County Election Bureau, you're in charge of the county elections. Is that wording okay?
I have reviewed this with Ms. Dolan just now, and I find it to be appropriate. I think it reaches all of the concerns that have been expressed.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. Any discussion?
I'd just like
Mr. Evans?
some clarification with the changes that Councilman Dolan's presented. It's my understanding they could be forwarded electronically. It's
Electronically, I don't see any reason why you couldn't do it electronically. I don't see why you couldn't do it through fax, through mail, scanned and send it as a JPEG, whatever. I mean, I just don't see how it makes a difference, especially if ultimately they're going to be on file at the county. But here it could be handled however our city clerk feels that it should be handled, because the language is more broad. So forwarded to and made accessible to are more broad than posted on or filed with. But I think the intent is the same, which is you're going to go to the city website and you're either going to be there or there's going to be a link to them.
Any other questions?
I'll just make one comment. I think that is a good amendment because there are some redundancies, but not yet. Clearly, we're making 2 copies. We are running around. We're using the extra gas. We are making the extra photocopies of all the paper. Those things are all there and things I've thought about. But as I understand, Northampton does not post online yet.
Not yet. Right.
Not yet. So I think it's good. I will definitely support this tonight. And with these amendments, it does make it easier because my comments were going to be that I would support the repeal and elimination of the redundancies if and when Northampton would have them posted. And we see that happening for a year or 2. But I think the amendments you made kind of take care of that we will not need to revisit this. Thank you.
If I may just say, I mean, we have, the city of Allentown, they have their own posting on their own webpage. Either Upper or Lower Macungie, I received a call from Commissioner Conrad, and they're going to be passing the same type of ordinance that we're looking at this evening. So even though the counties have it, I think some local communities feel, in the interest of transparency, that people are more likely to go to their community website rather than the county website. But the most important thing is that the information that the county would have, we will have on our webpage, and that the public would have access to it. Please call the roll. On Amendment 4.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
Please call the roll on Bill 8 as amended.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan?
Aye.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Mr. Donches?
Aye. We'll move to resolutions. 11A, designating fair housing officer. 11A.
Whereas the city will continue to support education of the public with regard to fair housing and to assist the public with connection to agencies that help with fair housing problems. And whereas the city must make efforts to affirmatively further fair housing. And whereas the city has reviewed various actions that would be acceptable to the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Whereas the city has made assurances as stated in the resolution, now therefore be it resolved that Jennifer Sweat shall be designated as a fair housing officer for the city. Be it further resolved that the city will publish and post a public notice announcing the appointment of the fair housing officer and the availability of local fair housing services, sponsored by David DiGiacinto and J. William Reynolds.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
11B, authorizing use permit agreement for the American Association of University Women Bethlehem Branch 2011 Book Fair.
Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Bethlehem that the mayor and controller or other officials are authorized to execute a use permit agreement with the American Association of University Women Bethlehem Branch for the use of the Memorial Pool Building for the 2011 Book Fair from March 21st to May 2nd, sponsored by David DiGiacinto and J. William Reynolds.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
11C, authorizing use permit agreement, Star of Bethlehem Festival, Riverside Wine Festival.
Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Bethlehem that the mayor and controller and other city officials are authorized to execute a use permit agreement with the Star of Bethlehem Festival for various city premises, including Sand Island, for the Riverside Wine Festival from May 19th to May 23rd, sponsored by David DiGiacinto and Eric Evans.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
11D, authorizing use permit agreement, Celtic Cultural Alliance, St. Patrick's Day Concert.
Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Bethlehem that the mayor and controller or other officials are authorized to execute a use permit agreement with the Celtic Cultural Alliance for various public properties for the St. Patrick's Day concert, March 10th to March 14th, sponsored by David DiGiacinto and Eric Evans.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
11E, authorizing right-of-way PPL after Butter Road.
Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Bethlehem that the mayor and controller are authorized to execute a right-of-way agreement with PP&L Electric Utilities for the construction, operation, and maintenance of electric and communication lines of one anchor guide shown on the plan on city property known as Apple Butter Road. Resolution 11E is sponsored by David DiGiacinto and J. William Reynolds.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
6-0 passes.
Chair will accept the motion from Mrs. Belinsky, second by Mr. Evans, to consider resolutions 11F through 11K as a group. I ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion and to read the resolutions, please.
Mrs. Belinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donches.
Aye.
All are certificates of appropriateness under the provisions of the Act of the Pennsylvania Legislature and Bethlehem Ordinance. 11F, a proposal to install 2 die-cut vinyl window signs at 565 Main Street. 11G, to relocate a previously approved sign from 458 Main Street to 519 Main Street. 11H, to remove an existing porch and construct a library and bathroom addition at 15 East Wall Street. 11I, to install acrylic individual letters on the sign panel at 458 Main Street. 11J, to replace the colored graphics with frosted vinyl graphics except for the left door and awning sign at 553 Main Street. 11K to display an A-frame sandwich board sign at 91 West Broad Street. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Bethlehem that certificates of appropriateness are hereby granted for the proposals, sponsored by David DiGiacinto and Eric Evans.
Comments? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Polinsky.
Aye.
Mr. DiGiacinto.
Aye.
Ms. Dolan.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Mr. Donahue.
Aye.
6-0 passed.
Thank you. We'll move to new business. Mr. Reynolds?
There will be a Finance Committee meeting on Monday, March 14th at 7 p.m. in Town Hall on the following: budget adjustments, water service to East Allen Township, and the Enterprise Zone. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DiGiacinto?
Yes, on behalf of Councilman Mauer's not here tonight, the Human Resources and Environment Committee meeting scheduled for Monday, March 21st, 2011 at 7 p.m. in Town Hall on the proposed Human Relations Commission is canceled.
Thank you. Any other new business? Members of council, new business? We'll move to courtesy of the floor for public comment on any issue with a 5-minute time limit. Mr. Bennett?
Robert Fenning, 2830 Linden Street. Thank you, council, for supporting my concerns. I do appreciate that. I don't know what, I've got nothing else to say in the sense, because I have a perfectly good hissy fit just went down the drain. However, let's go backwards. 3 council meetings ago, I raised 5 issues with council, which were referred to Mr. Spadoni, who did lots of research and chose to call me at 8 o'clock Sunday morning to discuss it. Basically, I made a mistake. There was a liaison from council to the Bethlehem Redevelopment Authority. I was not aware of that, and so my apologies to Mr. Mauer, who assured me that he was keeping council abreast of what was going on. Regarding Bedco, that's a can of worms. Attorney Spadoni advised me that Mr. Kelly was now the head of that, and I should deal with Mr. Kelly. So at some point in time, I will probably do that. The idea of taxing nonprofits payments in lieu of taxes, okay, fine, wonderful idea, won't go anywhere, so we'll move on. That brings us to the mercantile tax issues. Mr. Spadoni reread the existing ordinance and felt it was sufficient to cover all activities like weekly farmers markets held on the south side and all the weekly and other vendor presences at the new steel stacks. He felt the existing ordinance was fine. That leaves me with my concern based on prior trips through the various festivals and not seeing the appropriate business privilege licenses displayed prominently, etc. I just don't think, but I don't know for fact, that the existing ordinance is being enforced as well as it is. So I would request council, in its role as financial overseer of the city, to perhaps request of the controller's office, who has much more access to stuff than I do, to perhaps review the current status of mercantile tax collections, the issuance of licenses as appropriate to vendors, and see whether or not things are doing what they should be doing to generate the proper level of revenues. Otherwise, I'll have to start my own, right to know requests, and I think Mr. Cooper has better things to do than chat with me on a weekly basis. So I would urge council to request the controller to exercise her powers and report back on whether or not she feels that the mercantile tax is being properly and adequately collected. So that's the 5 things I brought up. I thank council's cooperation and Attorney Spadoni's cooperation in that. New business. A while back, everybody approved a TIF agreement. One of the items on there, in fact, the first one on that was $6,650,000 being allocated for the development of the town square. Yesterday I see that it's no longer the town square, it's the Air Products town square. So I have to raise the question, how much did they pay for the naming rights, or is that just being nice? And if they didn't pay anything, why is a corporate name being attached to taxpayer-funded development? Somehow that just doesn't sit well with me. And I'd really like to know at some point from somewhere, you know, how we get naming rights for something which is publicly funded. I think that's it, so if council maybe could get me some feedback from somebody appropriate, I would appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll move on. Thank you.
Let me just make a comment. I was thinking that we lost someone that has been in our city council meetings for many, many, many years. I just want to make a comment for the record. Mr. Dean Brook, who passed away about 2 weeks ago. He's always a gentleman, usually sat where Mr. Rodriguez is sitting, and I think he passed away about 2 weeks ago. He was always a gentleman, and whenever he came to city council, he was a man that was very respectful of the institution. He would criticize us in his way, but he would also compliment us, and I think he'll be sorely missed by all